In this video, we're going to talk about the Watchman Campground in Zion National Park. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of this campground, what our experience was like. We're also here to help you plan your campground stay in Zion National Park, and we're going to tell you about the reservation process. There are two campgrounds in Zion National Park in the canyon area. And those two campgrounds are the Watchman Campground, where we stayed. The other campground is the South Campground. We chose to stay at the Watchman Campground because the Watchman Campground is a little out of the way of daily park visitors. You have to drive past an entrance gate to get into the Watchman Campground. The South Campground is right off of the main road in the park, and the Pyrus walking trail goes right behind the South Campground, so you don't have quite as much privacy at the South Campground as you do in the Watchman Campground. Both of these campgrounds are very close to the town of Springdale, though. Overall, we really enjoyed this campground. This personally has been one of my favorite campgrounds we have ever stayed at in a trailer. This campground has 5 different loops. Loop A and B both have electric hookups. Loop B is meant for RVs and trailers only. Loop C and D are non-electric, no hookups, meant for just tents. And then Loop E is for group campsites, which was kind of shut down when we were there due to COVID. Because we were staying in our travel trailer in Loop B, that's what I'm going to talk about most in this video for our compare and contrast, pros and cons of the campground, just because that's what our experience was. If you are going to be staying in this campground in a tent, your experience might be a little different than our experience. Some of the great things about this campground are that it offers amazing views. You got out of your trailer every morning and you look up at the Watchman. You can see the sunset on the Watchman every night. You can hear the river when you're sleeping. These sites all have a decent amount of privacy. We were there in March before the leaves were fully out on the trees, so we had a little less privacy. It looks like in the summer months there's more shade from all the leaves on the trees, and therefore a little more privacy between sites as well. These campsites were huge. When you stay at a typical campground, you are in a trailer with about 8 feet between you and the trailer next to you if you're lucky. At this campground, it was about 100 feet between us and the next trailer, and we were facing a different direction than the other trailers, so we weren't all like having windows looking right back and forth at each other. It felt very private, so I loved that about this campground. Another pro, which is also a con, is that this was in Zion National Park. It's inside the national park boundaries. The good thing about that is that you don't have to fight for a parking spot when you want to go in to do stuff in the park. You already have your parking spot right at your campground site. All you need to do is follow the short walking path over to the visitor center. It's maybe a half mile or less from our campground site to the visitor center. And then from there you could hop on the shuttle, you could ride your bike anywhere. Another great thing about the campground being right close to the visitor center is that it's also very close to the town of Springdale. So you take that short walking path over near the visitor center and you can just exit out the pedestrian entrance from the national park into Springdale, and there's a grocery store right as soon as you cross over the bridge and enter the town of Springdale. So you can get some firewood, some necessary groceries for grilling and cooking. But of course, everything has a downside, right? Nothing's perfect. This campground has a few cons, I would say. The biggest one being that the only hookups you have are 30 amp electric. There is no sewage hookup, no water hookup. So what we would need to do is we would fill up gallon to 5-gallon jugs of water from the water filling stations near the restrooms, and we would use that water for our fresh water. We would have to fill up our freshwater tank with that like every day, every other day. When our gray water or black water was full, we would fill up our little caddy thing and drive it over to the dump station, which is in the campground. It was a little bit of a drive to the dump station, but no big complaints there. So that's definitely a downside, is that you take a little bit more time out of your day to get fresh water and also to clean out your tanks when they're full, and you only have electric hookups. The other negative thing, which was also a positive thing, is that it's in the national park, which means you have to wait in line at the entrance fee station every time you drive back into the park to go back to the campground. So anytime I wanted to drive into town to go out to dinner, do shopping, do laundry, I would come back into the national park. I'd have to wait in the line to enter the park. I would have to show them my interagency pass and then drive into the campground. So keep that in mind. The busiest time of the day is like 9-10 a.m. You would have a long line getting back into the park at those times of the day. At nighttime, there usually wasn't a very long line to come back in. Another negative thing about this campground is that half of the restrooms were closed when we were there, so we were trying to limit our use of the bathroom in our trailer to minimize the amount of things going into the black tank. So we would try to go to the bathroom whenever we could to minimize using our own bathroom. And unfortunately, we would have to walk 5 minutes to a bathroom. There was one, 2 campsites down from where we were staying, but that one was closed. So they closed half of the bathrooms due to COVID, I guess. So yeah, that was just inconvenient, I would say. And then the other negative thing about this campsite, which could be a good thing, I guess, I don't know, if you're on top of it, is that the sites fill up very quickly. You have to make your reservation 6 months in advance. I made my reservation for this park the day it became available in September of 2020 to stay there in March of 2021. To book your reservation, you need to visit recreation.gov and search for the Watchman Campground in Zion National Park. Once you're on the Watchman Campground page, there are a few different ways that you can book a campground. You can book by just selecting a site that you want. If you're looking for a specific site, then you can just click on that site and search for available dates. You also can browse the map after putting some dates in when you know you want to travel on these dates, and just see what sites are available on your dates that you're traveling. And the other way you can do it is by clicking on the grid, and that will just show you all of the sites that are available for the dates that you're looking for without seeing the map. This site is not the most user-friendly in my opinion. It takes a little getting used to, so if you're planning to book a spot at the Watchman Campground, I recommend navigating to adding it to your cart the day or two before, even if it's not available, just so that you are familiar with how to use the website. So when you do need to make a reservation, you can jump on that immediately when it becomes available so nobody else gets it. We stayed in the B Loop at site B050. It's right along the Virgin River. There are a few other sites along the Virgin River. One of the really nice things about this recreation.gov site for the Watchman Campground is that it tells you the size of the campground, it tells you what size trailer can fit in that campground space, it tells you a few other features like your hookups. In loops A and B is only going to be electric for 30 amps. A couple other things you should know about booking your stay at the Watchman Campground is you can only stay in this campground for a maximum of 2 weeks, so that's what we did. The fee varies. Ours was about $30 a night, so we paid over $400 for 2 weeks, which wasn't bad for having some pretty amazing views. You have to pay for your full stay when you're booking the campsite, and the cancellation policy is that a $10 service fee will apply if you change your reservation. If you cancel your reservation more than 2 days in advance, 48 hours in advance, then you'll just be charged a $10 cancellation fee, and if you cancel within 2 days of arrival, then they charge you a $10 cancellation fee and the first night's fee. So that's not bad at all. In conclusion, the Watchman Campground is an excellent place to stay because you're right in Zion National Park. Although there are some cons, I would say that the pros strongly outweigh the cons. You have some amazing views, you have access to the national park. Every day you can wake up, walk outside, see the deer, hear the birds, go for a bike ride, and just get out and enjoy the park. We would definitely come back to this campground when we come back to Zion National Park again. If you guys are booking this campground for an upcoming trip, good luck with your reservation. I hope that everything works out smoothly for you, and I hope you have a great time in Zion National Park. Thanks for watching this video. If you need some things to do in Zion National Park, we have a video with the top 10 things to do in the park. I will leave a link for that in the description below this video. Thanks for watching and happy travels, guys. Bye-bye.